I was Secretary of HUD. I visited more than 200 American cities on the job in every single one of the 50 states. In some of those cities I visited literally 25, 30 times, like Chicago, where we had to take over and supervise the. My work over the years has been to find ways to make cities stronger. And coming up in that environment, I concluded that what I wanted to do with my life was to try to be helpful, and that the place that I could make a difference was in this thing that we're calling the urban crisis. And so it embedded in my mind this idea of the cities and how essential they are to American life and what a valuable contribution a person could make working in this arena. The framework I want to use is kind of 5 functions that cities provide. Cities are the places where we work. Cities are the places where we learn. Cities are the places where we gather to enjoy other people. People watching, if you will. Cities are the places where we live. It's one of the fundamental functions of a city, is to create places where people can live safely and decently. And cities are an essential part of how we govern ourselves. So let me, just for a few moments, sort of walk through some thoughts that I've amassed over the years about how these functions are played. A great nation sustains itself through its work. From the labors of its people, from the productive capacities in urban areas comes national power. In the East, the Industrial Revolution matured in places like Akron and Rockford and Moline, each of which developed industrial specialization in particular products of importance to the country. When World War II required what President Roosevelt called the arsenal of democracy, we would win the war because of our capacity to outproduce. Our arsenal of democracy, it was tanks that rolled off lines in Detroit, ships that were launched from yards in Oakland, and airplanes that flew out of Long Beach. My point is that the history of American progress has been, in significant measure, a metropolitan, a city phenomenon. Because even our most damaged cities have immense value and essential roles to play in the nation's future. We must also realize that the process by which we rebuild our cities is patient. Cities, I had this insight when I was working in Los Angeles on the Northridge earthquake. Cities didn't come into being overnight. They came into being literally block by block, project by project. And that's the way they're going to be rebuilt. There is no such thing as a magic wand. There is no such thing as sort of make it right overnight. You just have to work at this. So the second point is that we have to be sober, though, about looking at what is possible. And it all starts, in my view, with looking at the function, the role of a city. Springfield played a particular role in the industrial economy. What is its role in the modern American economy? What is its role in the context of Western Massachusetts? What is its role in the context of a relationship with Hartford and this larger market area? What's its role in the complex of cities that is the American Northeast, New England? Those are the questions that have to be asked in order to set a course. It's hard, and it's hard for a city of 150,000 in a larger region, but it has to be done. It's the only way. I believe that we are on the cusp of an American urban renaissance. And let me explain to you why I believe that. First of all, I believe it because I think that the new American economy has finally found its sea legs, in the sense of, I know we're going through the final throes of a recession, or at least we hope it's the final throes, but we see the shape of what the new American economy is going to be like. The old economy was manufacturing. The manufacturing left. Cities got left with the residue. The capital went, the plants went, the jobs went. The cities stayed with the old factories, the toxic yards. The American economy, the new American economy has taken hold. It's not manufacturing. What is it? It's media, all kinds, software, technology. It's healthcare. It's biosciences. It's higher education. It's professional services, lots of professional services like accounting and finance and business services and international trade, Financial services, big. Insurance companies like Mass Mutual and banks like Hamden Bank. That's the new American economy. It's real. It's real. It's not a figment of the imagination. It's producing real jobs. If we're going to grow, that's where we're going to grow. And some of these things have real potential. For example, the biosciences. Some experts on the biosciences say that they believe the biosciences will be to the 21st century what computers and telecommunications were to the 20th century. Well, ourselves and for the world. These are all to come. And some cities are getting ahead of the curve, like Seattle, big investments in biosciences. San Francisco, big investments. California, big investments in the biosciences. It's all about understanding the wave and riding that wave. So one piece of my hope is about the new economy. Another piece is about anchor institutions that are staying in our cities. Just like Mass Mutual has stayed in Springfield. Just like the University of Southern California has stayed in Los Angeles, even after the riots all around it. Just like Marquette University has stayed in Milwaukee. And you could go on and on around the country. Trinity College in Hartford, classic example. There was encouragement for Trinity to leave because the alums didn't want their children to be exposed to the conditions around Trinity. And the president at the time, Evan Dobell, I think he's now at Westfield, if I'm not mistaken, or has been, a friend and worked with at HUD. Evan said, we're staying and we're turning this neighborhood around. And a new conception of city governments. City governments are no longer just the political organization that delivers basic services. But today they're very entrepreneurial places, you know, where the best of the mayors understand public and private investment and finance and I mean, I could go around the map and describe the wonderful things that are happening in cities because mayors are thinking outside the city government organization chart, outside the budget, and looking at the larger questions, the larger economy and how the city works. Demographics of the so-called creative class, young professionals who want to come and be in the downtowns. I mean, today in America, lower downtown, Lodo, Denver, what's called Deep Ellum, West Dallas, Atlanta. 50 years of decline in the city population of Atlanta, and since 2000 an uptick as people come back into the central neighborhoods. New York reached 8 million people in the census of 2000 after having been declining for a number of years, and people talking about the eventual demise of New York. And now the city planning department in New York says get ready for 9 million people. All-time high of 8 in the census of 2000, now point to 9 by 2030 with the growth that's occurring. Again, young professionals, empty nesters, immigrants, 1 million Dominicans in New York City, many of whom have come to the Bronx and transformed neighborhoods that used to be photographic, photo opportunities for presidential candidates to come and talk about the condition of the Bronx and show burned out buildings behind them. Charlotte Street in the Bronx is Roadhouse. I looked for it today. On the newsstands is this month's issue of Scientific American magazine, and the headline on the magazine just says cities. And there's 7 articles in there about 7 different dimensions, from smart cities, where talent and brain power matters, to environmental cities, green cities. I mean, the world is discovering we can make a big dent in global warming